to do that, because I'm not good enough to have them memorized, and we don't have enough money to have a teleprompter like the politicians, so I can read while I look like I'm talking to you. I'm actually going to read to give you that information, and I'm going to start that pretty soon. So I tell you that because I'd much rather engage with folks and make eye contact, even though my contacts aren't working today, and most of you don't really have eyes from here. I see faces. But I'm going to read, and you're going to look at my forehead for a fair amount of the time this morning, unfortunately. Good morning, folks. Wow.
Morning, Judge.
Wow. It's Monday. Okay. So, folks, well, you know who I am. I've got the nameplate. My name is Brian Oakland, one of the judges here at the court. So my primary function today is to make sure that whoever ultimately is picked as our jury has the information they need to make the decision we're going to ask you to make. So I tell you that to tell you this. There are a number of jury instructions that I am required to give you. That's part of the information you're going to have. In Michigan, we've got 3 volumes of the criminal jury instructions. You guys don't get them all, don't panic. But to do that, because I'm not good enough to have them memorized, and we don't have enough money to have a teleprompter like the politicians, so I can read while I look like I'm talking to you, I'm actually going to read to give you that information. And I'm going to start that pretty soon. So I tell you that because I'd much rather engage with folks and make eye contact, even though my contacts aren't working today, and most of you don't really have eyes from here. I see faces. But I'm going to read, and you're going to look at my forehead for a fair amount of the time this morning, unfortunately. So I'm going to get that started right now. I told you who I am, and we represent 5 communities here at the 34th District Court: Belleville, Romulus, Sumter, Van Buren, and Huron. Any of you folks don't live in one of those 5 communities? Great. Okay. One of the things that those of us that work in the system, the attorneys, the staff, myself, one of the things we recognize is that jury duty for most people is not something that you look forward to. I know it's shocking, isn't it? And one of the reasons I think that is because we're asking you to come to a place that you're not comfortable being. Let's face it, most people don't go to court because it's a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's usually something bad, whether not really bad or just slightly inconvenient has happened. We're asking you to come to a court that you don't normally want to go to. We're asking you to come here to do a job that you have not been trained to do, and we're asking you to do it with people that probably are strangers to you as of right now. So that doesn't make for a warm, fuzzy feeling, and we understand that. So our job is to try to make things easy for you. With that in mind, if there's anything you're uncomfortable about, it's too hot in the room, it's too cold in the room, when you get into the room where we actually give you some coffee, if the coffee's cold, whatever it is, just let the staff know. If it's not something they can take care of, they'll let me know, and we'll make something up. We're going to try to make you comfortable today. A trial begins with jury selection. The purpose of this process is to obtain information about you that will help us to choose a fair and impartial jury to hear this case. During jury selection, the lawyers and I will ask you questions. This is called the voir dire. The questions are meant to find out if you know anything about the case. Also, we need to find out if you have any opinions or personal experiences that might influence you for or against the prosecution, the defendant, or any witnesses. One or more of these things could cause you to be excused in this particular case, even though you may otherwise be qualified to be a juror. The questions may probe deeply into your attitudes, beliefs, and experiences. They are not meant to be an unreasonable prying into your private life. The law requires that we get this information so that an impartial jury can be chosen. If you do not hear or understand a question, you should say so. If you do understand it, you should answer it truthfully and completely. Please do not hesitate to speak freely about anything you believe we should know. Are you all hearing me okay? Yes. Anybody have a problem with me? All right, I'm fairly loud. So if at any point you don't hear what somebody's saying on my side of the bar that separates that little half wall, everything that's set up in front of that bar, you should be able to hear. So if it comes out of a witness's mouth, it comes out of one of the attorney's mouths, you should be able to hear it. If you can't, just, grade school, just get our attention, let us know what's going on. During jury selection, you may be excused from serving on the jury in one of 2 ways. First, I may excuse you for cause. That is, I may decide there's a valid reason why you cannot or should not serve in this case. Or a lawyer from one side or the other may excuse you without giving any reason for doing so. This is called a peremptory challenge. The law gives each side the right to excuse a certain number of jurors in this way. If you're excused, you should not feel bad or take it personally. As I explained before, there simply may be something that causes you to be excused from this case. I will now ask you all to stand and swear to answer truthfully, fully, and honestly all the questions that you will be asked about your qualifications to serve as a juror in this case. If you have religious beliefs against taking an oath, you may affirm that you will answer all the questions truthfully, fully, and honestly. If they jumped right to their feet, if you would, folks. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will truthfully and completely answer all questions about your qualifications to serve as jurors in this case? Yes. Thank you very much. Have a seat. All right, I've already told you who I am. This is Heather Mortfield. Heather is my secretary recorder. Her job out here today is to make sure that what is said on my side of the bar is accurately recorded in case she has to provide a transcript down the road. That's important information for you prospective jurors to understand for two reasons. Number one, we don't like those kind of answers because Heather can't record them. Even though the people in the room might be seeing the head shake or the head nod and know what the answer to the question is, she can't record it. So try to stick with the yeses, the nos, and by the way, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer to a question. The other reason it's important for you to understand her role is if two voices are being recorded at the same time, you can imagine how bad that is. And all of these microphones around the room go right into the recording equipment. So if an attorney is asking you a question during voir dire, for example, and you start your answer while the attorney is still speaking, that's a garbled mess, makes her job really, really difficult. And she's okay the first couple of times, and then she starts to shoot me dirty looks, and then I got to do something about it if I want any peace. So just keep that in mind. Maybe wait for that extra pause if somebody's asking you a question. Make sure that's done before you start answering. So this is a criminal case, and it involves a charge against, a charge of interference with police, which I'm going to explain more fully later. These charges have been made against the defendant, Travis Blake Walton St. Clair, who I'm probably going to refer to the rest of the day as Mr. St. Clair. His attorney is Mr. Samir Jadala. Would you please stand up and introduce yourself? Any prospective witnesses?
Hello, everyone. Attorney Samir Jadala. I represent Mr. St. Clair. The judge will further into that. You don't need this with the defense.
Thank you, Mr. Jadala. And Sumter Township is the municipality bringing the charges against Mr. St. Clair. Township is represented by attorney Robert Young. Mr. Young, if you please stand and do the same with witnesses.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Robert Young is my name, Sumter Township attorney, and for purposes today, the prosecuting attorney. For certain, as far as witnesses are concerned, Detective Lieutenant Joseph Belowski, who's sitting next to me, will testify. And is it all right to name a couple of others that may be?
Sure, absolutely.
Depends on how circumstances
should
arise. But Sergeant Beth Eager, Officer Gino Crescini, Officer Nicholas Johnson, and possibly Chief Eric Blue can testify, depending on how circumstances go.
Thank you very much. All right. So we've got Officer Crova and Officer Garcia in the courtroom. The court officer's main job is to make sure everybody in the court is safe. I don't think that's an issue today. So their secondary function is to just be a conduit between you folks and me. Once again, coffee's not hot, room's too cold, whatever it is, whatever you need, let us know. Do any of you folks know anyone that's been identified, either that is in court or maybe just a name that one of the attorneys mentioned?
No.
Anyone? Wonderful. All right, how about health issues? We've already established that you guys can all hear me. Anybody have any health issues, maybe back problems that prevent you? You notice I don't sit. I've had back problems forever, and I finally realized that if I stand all day, it actually helps. Any of you have problems sitting for a couple hours at a time? Anyway, sir, in the back row. Sir, what's your name, first of all?
Frank Sedler.
Sedler? And what's the issue, Mr. Sedler?
I got sciatic nerve.
Oh boy, bless you. Which I'm assuming, because I have friends with that issue, that you just can't park for long. You got to get up, you got to move around a little bit once in a while.
Some days kind of come and go. Some days it doesn't bother me too bad. Other days it's one of those things where I got to get moving around.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Perfect. I mean, not good for you. Don't get it. But if you need to get up and move around, just once again, can we have a break? Okay. And sir, in the front row, what's your name?
Robert Doty.
Dodick?
Doty.
Doty.
Yeah, I've had a back problem for a long time. And sometimes is it okay just to stand up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
absolutely.
So that relieves it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, sure, absolutely. Anyone else, any kind of health issue that would cause you either a lot of discomfort or, something that would, anything that would, not just health. Does anybody have any reason why they can't be with us today for a business day? And what I mean by that is into the afternoon hours. Health reasons or any other reasons? No? Okay, wonderful. All right, as I said, this is a criminal case. The document used to charge Mr. St. Clair with a crime is called a complaint. The complaint in this case charges that Travis St. Okay, it's Monday. The complaint in this case charges Mr. St. Clair with the crime of interference with police and reads as follows. The complaining witness has filed a sworn complaint stating that on the date of January 6, 2023, and at the location described, the defendant, contrary to law, and it's not there. Oh, okay. Skips down. Did interfere in the lawful arrest of Paul DuPont on multiple outstanding warrants, then interfered into the subsequent narcotics investigation. The ordinance of the township reads, it shall be unlawful for any person to resist lawful arrest or interfere either directly or indirectly with an officer making an arrest, or to refuse to assist an officer upon being commanded by the officer to give assistance, or to refuse to disperse upon the command of an officer, or to object, resist, hinder, or oppose any officer in the discharge or apparent discharge of his duties. All right, attorneys, in the instructions, Heather's got the full complaint. I don't know if it's necessary for the purposes we've got right now to read the whole thing.
Your Honor, may I?
Yeah.
The jury instructions that have been submitted, approved by Mr. Jadala and myself, and I assume would not be an objection from the court, is limited to the Sumter Township Ordinance 14-27, which was the second portion of the complaint you read. So it's just that ordinance that we're focused on.
Okay.
As far as the state statute is concerned, we're not.
That's not my question. My question is what she's got under reading of complaint. Do you want the entire body that she's got typed in the instructions read? That's the question.
No.
No,
You're satisfied with what I've got so far?
satisfied, Your Honor.
All right. Moving on. A person accused of a crime is presumed to be innocent. This means that you must start with the presumption that Mr. St. Clair is innocent. The presumption continues throughout the trial and entitles the defendant to a verdict of not guilty unless you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty. Every crime is made up of parts called elements. The prosecutor must prove each element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant is not required to prove his innocence or to do anything. If you find that the prosecutor has not proven every element beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. A reasonable doubt is a fair, honest doubt growing out of the evidence or lack of evidence. It is not merely an imaginary or possible doubt, but a doubt based on reason and common sense. A reasonable doubt is just a doubt, a doubt that is reasonable after a careful and considered examination of the facts and circumstances. All right, so Officer Krove is going to call names. First of all, when he calls your name, if he mispronounces your last name, please correct him, because if he doesn't, we're going to assume that that is correct pronunciation. The attorneys and I will make note, and we'll mispronounce your name for the rest of the proceedings. So correct him if he misspeaks. Second thing is, as you approach, right next to me, there is an incline ramp. It's not real visible, so you got to be careful, otherwise you'll trip as you come up the incline ramp. When you get in the jury box, Joe will show you where we're going to be seated. Juror number 1 is going to be seated closest to the prosecutor's table, and then we'll fill in from there. If you will, Joe.
Juror number 1, Jeffrey Adwell.
Thank you, sir. Watch your step. No, sir. That's okay.
Folks, I'm sorry, if any of you have a cell phone, so I'd like to come out, it's gonna be completely silenced or shut off. We don't want any noises at all or interruptions. Sorry.
Juror number 13, David. Kurtzall. Kurtzall. Who's Kurtzall? You're juror number 2.
Welcome, sir.
Juror number 3, Juliet Wiggle. Weagle.
Say it again for me.
Legal.
Weagle. Thank you.
Juror number 4, Tad Wardinger.
Wardinger?
Yeah.
Wardinger. Thank you, sir.
Juror number 5, Letitia Johnson. Lashida Johnson. Ashida Johnson, I'm sorry. Number 4.
Watch your step right here.
Next juror, Melanie Morgan. And juror number 7,
Good one.
Tiffany Brown.
Welcome, Ms. Brown. Very subdued crowd. Usually at this point, some of the folks back there have huge grins on their face. All right, you folks are not out of the hot water yet. So what I'm going to ask you to do, as the attorneys and I ask questions of these 7 folks, I want you to answer those questions to yourself in your head. Because if one of you finds yourself in a seat up here, the first thing I'm going to say is, were you listening to the questions that had been asked? Is there anything we should know based on the questions, so on and so forth? It just helps us move things along a little bit so we don't have to repeat the same questions over and over, hopefully. All right, so with that, we've already established that you all belong in this courtroom because you're a resident of one of my 5 communities. No health issues, right? Yes,
I
sir.
live in Brownstown.
You live in Brownstown, or your zip code is in Brownstown?
I live in Brownstown. My zip code is, my mailing address is Romulus.
Okay. Huh.
I live on Sibley Road, but we don't know, Brownstown doesn't have a post office. So you can either go Romulus or Riverview.
Sibley where?
Between Beach Daily and Anchor.
Hmm.
Persall Farms.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like Brownstown. Yeah, okay. Get out of here.
Handle up.
You should probably be doing some farm stuff today anyhow, shouldn't you?
I get back to the greenhouse.
Yeah. Enjoy your day. I don't know how that happened.
That's my mailing address, probably.
Yeah, that's probably why. That's fine. All right, well, replace Mr. Kurtzel, Officer Grover.
Juror Juror number 2 will be Robert Doherty.
Doty.
Doherty.
Watch your step. Empty seat over here. Yep. That helps us keep track of everything. Yep. Okay. So you folks, any of you folks have any close relationships with law enforcement officers, maybe family or friends? Anyone? Okay. Any of you folks ever served on a jury before? No. Ever gotten to this point in a jury trial? All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Adwell, where at? Was it local or downtown? Okay. Did you get to the point where you were asked questions? Okay, but you were not chosen.
Actually, they did choose us, but the next morning they had a plea deal, so.
Okay. Okay. You were all ready to work. They just didn't work you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Criminal case? Just out of curiosity? Okay. All right. How long ago was that?